Okay, so what you're looking at here, this isn't just a stack of paper. It's the actual blueprint for a €500,000 international project. Think of it as the official rulebook that dictates how every single cent of public money gets managed, spent, and accounted for. Today, we're going to tear that rulebook apart and see what makes it tick.
So, you ever wonder what it really takes to get a massive project like this off the ground, especially one that crosses borders? Well, it's not just a great idea. It's this, a super detailed, meticulous agreement that maps out every single rule, every responsibility, and every risk before a single euro even thinks about leaving the bank. Let's dive in.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll talk about what this contract actually is. Then we'll meet the key players and check out their game plan. After that, we'll follow the money, learn the rules of the game, and find out what happens when you break them. And finally, we'll tie it all together and see why it matters so much.
All right, first things first. Let's get a handle on what this document actually is, because it's way more than just legal fine print. It's literally the foundation the entire project is built on.
So what are we really talking about here? Honestly, the best way to think of a grant contract is as the project's official rulebook. It's the one document that everybody involved, and I mean everybody, agrees to play by. It's all about fairness, transparency, and making sure everyone is held accountable.
Now, every good rulebook needs players and a goal, right? So let's see who's actually on the team for this project and what exactly they've promised to do.
At its heart, this whole thing is a partnership. On one side, you've got the funder. In this case, it's a Romanian ministry that's in charge of the EU's Interreg program. They're the ones providing the cash and keeping an eye on things. And on the other side, you have the project leader, the International Hellenic University in Greece. They're the ones on the ground responsible for making it all happen.
And wow, this one sentence from Article 1.4 really drives the point home. It says, the lead partner doesn't just participate, they take on the responsibility for the entire project, from beginning to end. That is a massive, massive commitment. So what's the big idea? The mission? It's all laid out right here. The goal is to implement a project called Rapid Earthquake Damage Assessment Expanded, or REDA-NX for short. And there's a deadline. They've got exactly 18 months to pull it off. The clock is officially ticking.
All right, let's talk about the part we're all a little curious about, the money. This contract is incredibly precise about the financials. There is absolutely no guesswork involved.
And here it is, the big number. The total eligible cost of this project is just shy of €500,000. That's the absolute maximum they can spend on activities that have been pre-approved as part of the project plan.
So where's all this cash coming from? Well, you can see it's a team effort. The EU's Interreg grant covers a whopping 90% of the costs, but, and this is super important, the partners have to chip in the other 10% themselves. It's called co-financing, and it's there to make sure everyone has some skin in the game.
But the money doesn't just land in their bank account in one big lump sum. No way. The contract sets up a very clear three-step process. First, they can get up to 30% up front to get the ball rolling. After that, it's a cycle. Every 4 months, they send in reports and get paid back for what they've spent. And then at the very end, one final report settles all the accounts for good. Okay, when you're dealing with this kind of public money, you better believe there are some serious rules. This next part is all about accountability. All the checks and balances in place to prove every single cent was spent exactly as promised.
So that's the million-dollar question, or, the €500,000 question for the partners, right? How in the world do you prove that you actually did the work and that the money went where you said it would?
Well, the answer is you create an absolutely massive paper trail. Article 5.5 in the contract is incredibly specific about this. You need everything. I'm talking accounting records, procurement contracts, every invoice and receipt, bank statements to prove you paid, proof that stuff was delivered, timesheets for your staff. It all has to be documented. And get this, it's not just about what you've already spent. It's about hitting future targets. Just look at this table. The contract flat out says that by month 12, that's the halfway mark, each partner has to prove they've already spent a very specific amount of money. You can see it there in that middle column. That puts some serious pressure on everyone to stay on schedule. And the accountability doesn't stop with the accountants. Article 10 makes it super clear that the partners have to tell the world that the European Union is helping to fund the project. We're talking logos on websites, notes on official documents, and for the big-ticket items, even physical billboards. Okay, so we've got the plan, we've got the money, and we've got the rules. But
What happens if you break those rules? Well, the contract is crystal clear about the consequences.
And they're not messing around. The penalties are spelled out, and they hurt. As you can see here, something as simple as failing to turn in a report on time could cost a partner up to 5% of their funding. Even just forgetting those publicity rules we just talked about could lead to a 2% penalty. Those are some serious incentives to play by the book.
But for the really big stuff, we're talking about fraud or just completely failing to deliver on your promises, the consequences get really, really severe. The funder can hit pause and suspend all payments. They can terminate the contract altogether. They can demand you pay back all the money you've already received. And maybe worst of all, they can ban you from getting any EU funding in the future.
So after all this detail, all these rules, all these penalties, let's just take a step back for a second. Why on earth is this document so intense, so thorough? Well, it's all about the bigger picture.
Because the job isn't over when the project is done. Not even close. This timeline shows you what's really going on. After those 18 months of work are finished and the last payment comes through, the responsibility just keeps going. For 5 more years. 5! All the records have to be kept safe and ready for an audit at any time. The book isn't truly closed for a long, long time.
So when you boil it all down, all this complexity, all this red tape, it all serves one huge purpose. This rulebook exists to make absolutely sure that taxpayer money is spent wisely, that the projects actually do what they promised, and, maybe most important of all, that trust can be built between partners working together across different countries. In the end, a document like this isn't just a list of rules. It's a blueprint for making big things happen. It's a recipe for turning an ambitious idea into a reality. Which kind of makes you think, right? If you had a rulebook like this, what important project would you want to build?